Looks like YouTube's having a little trouble, but I'm gonna go anyway because I'm recording this. All right, tonight I'm gonna talk about censorship and dreams. How dreams work. Now I'm gonna start it with some interesting videos. First, a little joke.
The craziest dream last night that I was in Cleveland, Ohio, which is really weird because I've never even been to Ohio. And this guy was wearing a bunny suit, and he was
You know
coming
what,
in.
Dee? I don't want to hear about your dreams, okay? I hate listening to people's dreams. It's like flipping through a stack of photographs. If I'm not in any of them and nobody's having sex, I don't care.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Always sunny is always good. But yeah, I was watching this. That's just a joke. I don't actually think that. But yeah, today while I was driving, I was listening to the Kurgan. This guy Giuseppe Filato, who is one of the most interesting dudes online. I don't really like his stuff about religion, but everything that has nothing to do with Catholicism that he talks about is fascinating. And the guy's kind of funny. He's just like really, I don't know, enigmatic. I think the word. Yeah, that's the word. Guy's great. Um, he's got absolute gems. But he was talking about AI, and he got into someone mentioned something about dreams to him. The guy says, kind of tan, tangential, but do you think dreams allow us to see into the spiritual realm? And he goes into some things that have happened to him. And I've had this happen with me, and it actually clarified a bunch of stuff about dreams for me. Because I have a rule, I found like there's rules of the dream world, and I thought there were rules, but I don't know. Just listen to
It
this.
just says kind of tangential, but do you think
I'll have
dreams
to turn it
allow us
off
to see into the spiritual realm? They seem so
because
weird and to me a preternatural event rather than just a process of our minds. I think they can be both, and they are both. I've had premonitory dreams, and not just one or two, but I've had them where I have a dream and I tell people about it, and then it happens. So I know it's not just my idea. I know it's not just something that I imagined because I told somebody else, like, oh, I had the weirdest dream, and then it actually physically happens. And not because I tried to make it happen, because they're so disconnected from what I thought. Even the day I met my now wife was I remember the dream I had 10 years earlier. I don't think I've possibly discussed this, but so there are certainly some dreams that are premonitory dreams. I think there are some dreams that are revelatory dreams, and then I think there are some dreams that are just the result of your neurons firing off things that influenced you or affected you or gave you some emotions during the day or maybe 10 years ago. I've had dreams where it's like almost like a film. I had dreams of actually, and this was before the Terminator films ever came out or even existed. I had a dream of these like, there would be like these robot things that replaced people. And in the dream, it was like, I was trying not to fall asleep in the dream. So I was dreaming, I was asleep, but in the dream, I was trying to stay awake because what happened is if you just blinked and if you didn't have somebody physically seeing them the whole time in front of you, they'd get replaced. And then it's like, you might be going along with them thinking, oh, this is my friend and we've been fighting all these robots. And then like you turn and you'd see their eyes go like, and go red. And then you're like, oh, fuck, it's one of them. And they were like almost indestructible. And when I was a kid, I built this like, this replica of a Colt 45 handgun, which was a single action plastic handgun. And I built it as a model. It was a big thing. But in the dream, this thing was actually a real gun, and it was like a single action gun. And it was the only gun that was powerful enough to like kind of make them stumble around and fuck them up a little bit, but they'd still come at you. And they were stronger than humans or whatever. You couldn't really fight them hand to hand because unless you use some kind of leverage to just like throw them away from you, whatever, they could crush you and stuff. And I had this dream, and it was like pretty horrible. It was very vivid, very realistic, and I had to keep running away. And it was like me and this girl, and it was like, oh fuck, I managed to like keep her and me alive, but I'm exhausted because I haven't slept in like 3 days. And it's like, I'm just going to close my eyes. Just, if you stay awake and you watch me and then I watch you, and I close my eyes and then I open my eyes and then like I look at her and just, ding, her eyes went red, and it was like, fuck, and I had this dream. And then that's it. It was such a vivid dream. I remembered it in quite a lot of detail. 10 years later, I have the part 2 of the dream, like another film. It's like it's a continuation of the dream, where exactly where that one left off. Where it's like, oh, yeah, she's a robot, but it's like now maybe the people aren't dead; they've just been replaced. And it's like, and the robot is like they're a bit smarter, but they're still kind of evil. But it's like you can sort of reason with them. And it's like part 2 of the film. It's like I don't know how that works. So very interesting question, but yeah. Caleb says, that's a scary thought for me. I keep having dreams of going back to the military. No, that's generally an anxiety dream. Like people that dream of school and they're not going to fail the exam. That's an anxiety-generated dream. I don't think those dreams they're important only in that they're informing you about something.
This is the part I was actually talking about, not the Terminator thing.
Something that you still need to deal with psychologically. For example, when I was doing Systema extensively, I used to dream about fighting and stuff, and the same with karate. And it's like, because I was obsessing, I was like working on it, and it's like I dream of fights, and it's like, oh, I can just about. And I remember I was telling my instructor, I said, oh, I had this dream that I was like, this guys came to mug me because, and
this is kind of interesting.
And they stole my phone, and there was like 4 of them. And the first question, that this guy's a brilliant teacher. He goes like, did you manage to get your phone back? And I was like, yeah, I fucked him up and I got my phone, but he goes, good, now you're learning. And it's like, he knew what that meant, because until you can fuck the other guy up in the dream, then your subconscious doesn't feel confident that you would win that fight. And I had another dream, which was later, which was even more intense, because this was just like a mugging. But the other dream was like, I was looking for this serial killer, and there was actually 2 serial killers. And one was like not a big guy, but he was like red hair and really vicious, like very dangerous fighter. While the other guy was big and strong, and they're both serial killers. But it's like I was trying to find one of them because I don't know if they'd kidnapped somebody I cared about, or I can't remember. Anyway, I went into this pub, which is like a little bit underground, and there's these 2 serial killers. And then it's like, I'm like looking for them, and then I look at, and there's the red-haired guy, and he's like blocking the entrance or the exit. And he's like, we look at each other and we know. We just fucking know, oh, that's him. And then I look, so he's like at the exit, and at the end of the sort of bar thing, there's another big guy who like looks at me, looks at the other guy, and I'm like, oh, fuck. They're both here. They both know I'm like looking for one of them, and they're both going to try and kill me. And I quickly picked up just like a butter knife or whatever was on the counter. And it's like the big guy came at me, and it was normally when I had this kind of dream, it would be like, oh, I'm fighting for my life.
This will make sense. I know it might sound kind of boring, but this will make sense in a second.
And I'm barely surviving, and then I'm trying to run away, and I'm like, it would just be like an ongoing like thing that would last the whole night. And I'd wake up more tired than when I went to sleep. This one was like, oh, the big guy came at me, and it's like I just cut his throat open. And then I went immediately to the little guy, but the little guy was like faster, more dangerous, and he had a knife too. And my move, instead of like fighting him knife to knife, was like, I just threw the knife down, pushed his arm out the way, and grabbed his head and smashed it against the side of the door, and just bang, 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 and like, and broke his neck. And I was like, fight done. It was like 5 seconds, and they're both out. And I woke up like, yeah, that wasn't so bad, And what it was is this is a subconscious thing that when I was doing karate, that fight would have gone all night, and they might have killed me in the dream. It's like it's when you get rid of the anxiety dream, it means you're over that part of your damage. Let's call it like that. Janky says, "Have you?"
Yeah, and the reason why I say that is I wrote a comment actually. I've always thought there's rules to dreaming, and like I've noticed that every time I was in a dream and I would try to fight someone, like I would punch them, and then the punch would be like I hit a pillow or something. It wasn't like it was like really soft when it actually hit the person. So I started thinking like, oh, maybe there's a rule that you can't do violence in dreams or something like that. And eventually I had a dream where the only time I've ever been able to do like anything violent in a dream was I don't know, it was a weird dream, and it was like everyone was going crazy, like the movie Kingsman, where it's like the cell phones like make everyone go crazy. Um, they have that famous scene where the guy's in the church and he beats everyone up with Freebird playing in the background. Um, but I'll play that one. So here's something I actually look at. I'll turn down the music so we don't get copyright.
There are those.
But yeah, like I was in this dream where everyone started acting like this, and it's the only time I've ever been able to actually do something violent in a dream. And everyone started like acting like Kingsmen, like they start going crazy or whatever, and they're attacking everyone. And I was like hiding in the city. I was affected by it for some reason, and I decided to fight or whatever. And this guy comes with a sword. I don't know. It's a weird dream. And he comes to attack me, and I like automatically like push my stomach out to like dodge it, I guess, dodge the swipe. And uh, then I had like this thought come in my head. It was like, no, you can't be. You got to be calm. You can't be afraid during this or something like that. So the next time the guy swung the sword, I like stepped into it and like flipped him over my shoulder, took the sword, and then sliced him. And that was the only time I've ever been able to do anything violent ever in a dream. And I think it's because like I got into like a flow state in the dream. I don't know. And people say that like when you're in flow, you're like connected to the universe, and that's how I've always felt it in sports. Um, I've gotten it most in when I was real little. I would get it all the time when we used to play like games like Manhunt or Jailbreak, where you like run around and uh, I'll keep this playing what I'm talking about. We like Manhunt. I don't know if you've ever played Manhunt. When I was little, we used to play it all the time. We go to like the local baseball field, little league baseball field or something, and the boundary would be the entire block of the little league field. And in Manhunt, you got one team. There's two teams. One team has to capture the other team, where they say like a word after touching the person, and then they have to take them back to jail, and the jail will be like the bleachers of the little league field. And they did this like we used to play this all the time, and the word that we had to say, which I always found weird, is you have to say this phrase: 1, 2, 3, my man O'Bracey's safety lock. If you didn't say safety lock, that means they could break out of your hold when you grab them. But if you said safety lock, they weren't allowed to break out of the hold. They just had to go with you to the jail because you had the like little like 2, 3 seconds while they're saying the phrase that you can like break away, and it's not illegal. That was like the rules. I always found that fascinating, and that phrase is weird as hell. I don't know who came up with that phrase, but um, my favorite thing about Manhunt was named Manhunt. Uh, Whenever I was the last person, and I had the other team, all my teammates were captured in the jail. And the way you play Manhunt is if you touch the jail and say jailbreak, then everyone runs free and they have to go capture everyone all over again. And then you switch sides once you capture everyone. And I love being like the last person and having to get by everyone to free everyone. And that's like uh, when I would feel most in flow, I guess. So most connected. And then I would feel this in sports too, like in basketball a few times. I would feel it. Hockey, I felt it all the time. Um, and then in football, every once in a while. But anyway, that's what it felt like in that dream. Like I was in that flow state where it's not. It's like I don't know, it's a difficult thing to explain, but I think that's what Giuseppe Filato was kind of talking about. Because that's what that martial arts system actually it teaches that basically how to always be in that flow state, like how to it like remaps your neurological brain mappings to do that. Um, it's a cool scene. But another thing about dreams that I thought was interesting was let's see, get this out of the way. Flying in dreams. Like I've been able to fly a bunch of times in dreams, and almost every time I would end up. Might as well just play it. Every time I would end up like realizing that I'm flying, and after I realized I was flying, I would start falling to the ground and could no longer fly. That's kind of cool. I would I couldn't fly anymore once that happened. And then when I would try to fly again, I would like jump up a little bit, and then I would fall back down. It was like when I tried to fly, I couldn't fly. When I knew I was flying, or like thought about the fact that I was flying, I couldn't fly. It was only when I was in flow, connected to the universe, I guess, connected to creation, that I could fly. Like it was just a fact that I was flying. Like I didn't think about it. I didn't try. You know what I mean? That's another thing about dreams I've noticed. Uh, I've had prophetic dreams. One dream I had one dream recently, kind of recently, like a couple years. I guess it was like last year, where my speaking of Little League, it was actually right at this guy's house. He was like one of the he lived right across the street from the Little League field. He was my Little League coach when I was like 12, when I was 12 year old All Stars for baseball, Little League, and he was one of the coaches. And one night, like last year, I haven't seen this guy since I was 12. I uh, am going to like a grocery store, and I hold the door open for him, and he says, "Oh, hey, hi," and I was like, "Hey, Mister blah blah blah, how you doing?" And he walks in, and then I walk in, whatever. And the next day, the guy died. He had a heart attack. Or that night, I think he had a heart attack. Yeah, it was that night he had a heart attack. So I was like feeling that in the dream almost. Like his energy was just like the last death throw went out into the ether, like went into my dream somehow. And yeah, it was kind of like weird. Um, I've you should try writing down your dreams. It's very interesting. I did it for like a month, and then I started to figure out how the dreams actually work. And it's most of the time it's really big picture stuff, but it's like if you wanted to explain a story to someone without words, you know what I mean? Like without word symbols, how would you do it? Or without speaking to it, you'd have to show like pictures, right? Or like scenes, right? And then it would have to have meaning, like subconsciously. I don't know. Like one of them that I had was uh, like I was in a 747, and I was like the co-pilot, but I was like a trainee. Or like the two pilots were there, but I was the trainee watching them fly or something. And they're flying, and the pilot passes out, and the co-pilot's like, "Oh, don't worry, the autopilot will pull up." And the plane starts going down. It's like pull up, pull up, pull, and then like the automated response or whatever starts going pull up, pull up, pull up, like beeping. And I'm like, "Are you gonna do something? What are you doing?" I say to the co-pilot, and he's like, just stares there straight, not doing anything, like he just wasn't there. And I realized, oh shit, I gotta be the one to take the pilot off and start piloting the plane. And then I barely pulled it up at the end, and right when it was about to hit the water. And the next day I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, that was obviously the things that were going on in my life that was saying, stop effing up. This is your last chance. You got to take the wheel. You got to pilot your own. You got to pilot your body. Like, we are in our thoughts. We're this silent observer. So we got when that like that song. The song "Drive" is not about driving cars. Obviously, it's about taking control of your human vehicle body with your spirit, and that's what that dream is about. Basically, you need to take the wheel. That's what it was.